And it's a Monday morning with the usual challenges. Yes? Some people, public passengers, had difficulties early this morning. Yes? Because public passenger operators withdrew their services in a number of areas, while others, the lawless criminals among them, yes, were urging others to block roads and to set vehicles on fire. But I would like to believe that they are in the minority, and it did not descend to that. At the same time, the taxi and public passenger operators have a legitimate grouse. Their grouses are legitimate. Some of the provisions in the new Traffic Act do not make sense, as you'll hear a little later. Yeah? But it seems as if we have now normalized in Jamaica a practice that says you point out, you argue, and you make a case that something in, whether it's a law or some agreement, is not fair, and you're ignored. And you're not really addressed. The issues are not addressed until you block road, as some are wont to do this morning. So, the public passenger operators in several parts of the country, including West Rural St. Andrew, the Temple Hall Main Road, up in Tavern in West Rural St. Andrew this morning, some of the roads leading to Stonehill Square, Spanish Town, parts of Portland and St. Mary as well, saw disruption in services. Yeah, because according to the public passenger operators, they have been complaining. They've been complaining, and the government has been slow to respond. But we are also learning from their leaders that the government is now promising to respond and has been responding with a new Minister, Daryl Vaz, at the helm. And they want until the end of the month to complete their consultations to fix the glaring problems in the new traffic regulations. But some can't wait. So in Spanish Town, here's an operator this morning giving his perception of what was happening in the old capital this morning.
No, man, no, little more thing, brother. A no thing, brother. But then in the street, man. Spanish Town a dry up, man. Spanish Town dry up, man. You see what I say? I when I sleep, in a heart I town me live, So, Spanish Town dry up, general.
A public passenger operator there in Portland, another operator, yes, provides this perception while apparently criticizing his colleagues in the corporate area for not taking similar action.
The whole over Portland a black. The whole over a black up, brother. Town man a joker.
And in St. Mary, another operator says he's on his way to Kingston, yes, to protest.
And then I St. Mary, I try to reach a town, and a copy say, the road them block up. Yeah, man, we are talking about debris block up. You copy that? All car, all this, all that in the road. But copy say, I told me I have to do my protest. Yeah, man, and I told me I come do my protest. So I have to reach a town, so I try to reach the same way here. But
okay, so that is in St. Mary. And I gather our Portland correspondent, Winston Malcolm, is on the line to tell us what's happening in Port Antonio, what he saw this morning in parts of Portland. Good morning, Mr. Malcolm.
Good morning, Mr. Hughes.
How was it in Portland?
Well, I'm in Port Antonio. The taxis are working, but passengers are moving. But in Buff Bay this morning, the taxis that want to carry passengers are being intimidated by the drivers. So I went to the Buff Bay police station and I spoke to an officer in charge, and he sent some officers down there, and the traffic started to move. In Anata Bay, traffic is moving because the taxi stand is right before the police station. So I don't see a major effect on the traffic traveling public in Portland and section of St. Mary.
Mm-hmm.
In Oak Bay, about 7 taxis park on the side of the road. A strong detachment of police is there, and the public is moving. School children are moving.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't speak about other part of the park, but between Port Antonio to Anata Bay, traffic is moving fluently.
Okay. So most of the operators are on the job?
Are on the job. Not most, but a lot of operators on the job.
Okay.
But there's no roadblock. That is, I want to say that categorically. No road has been blocked.
Contrary to what we heard from that voice
the
note.
person this morning,
Yeah.
taxi operator. No road has been blocked.
In,
And that is from Hector's River
mm-hmm.
to Windsor Castle in West Portland. Hector's River in East Portland.
Uh-huh.
And I drove to Anata Bay, and no road has been blocked.
Okay. Thank you for that, Mr. Malcolm.
Okay. Have a great
Winston
day.
Malcolm, our correspondent there in the Eastern Parish of Portland. Meanwhile, the Transport Minister, Vybz, says he's aware that misinformation about the vexed issue of demerit points against transport operators who breach the Road Traffic Act is a driving force behind the threat of strike action.
I'm fully aware of the misinformation and mischief that is being circulated among transport groups in relation to an all-island strike for 5 days. I've been in touch with the transport operators. There has been a statement issued by the ITA, the Island Traffic Authority, to indicate that the matter in relation to their merit points are under review by the committee, and there's a meeting scheduled for this week. So any action would be premature.
Minister Vybz there, he said the leaders of the various transport groups ought to do a better job of informing their members about the state of play regarding the discussions to resolve the complaints and the issues.
I am calling on good sense to prevail. The matter has come to my attention and I am dealing with it appropriately, and it will be part of the review of the Road Traffic Act, which is to be concluded by the end of June. A meeting will take place this week specific to that issue, and as usual, consultation, consensus and collaboration are the order of the day.
Vybz, the Minister of Transport, yes? And we also have a message recorded yesterday by the President of the Association of Hackney and Contract Carriage, Willard Costley. In that message, you'll hear him say the association is not in support of the protests.
The Jamaica Association of Hackney and Contract Carriage was contacted by the High Command of the Jamaica Constabulary Force in relation to a demonstration to be held tomorrow by taxi operators. This demonstration, the association is not aware of, and hereby will not advise or take part in. We therefore ask anyone who may be part of this demonstration will be doing so without the backing of the association.
Willard Costley there. But the presidents of at least 3 of the associations, while not supporting the protest, believe the complaints of the operators are valid. The operators have been complaining that the demerit point system is unfair and that they are being ticketed for using their phones when they were not. The president of TODS, Egerton Newman, Willard Costley, as you heard, and Dion Chance, agree that the complaints of the operators are reasonable. But Dion Chance believes the strike is premature as the issues identified are now being reviewed.
I kind of understand the frustration that the members are facing, but this is an ongoing process and it is something that is being dealt with, as there's another meeting tomorrow with the leadership of the Island Traffic Authority, the Transport Authority, Police Traffic Department, the Steering Committee, with a view of looking at what are some of the burning issues and what can be done. And I can tell you two of the very vexing points is that number one is that if a passenger goes into a taxi and the driver asks them to wear the seatbelt and they refuse to, and the vehicle is stopped by the police, the driver is the one that gets the ticket. Personally, I think that is not right. That needs to be looked at because the person is an adult and there's no way that the driver should be held accountable because we're living in some dangerous times. And there are areas that if they refuse to carry them because they don't want to wear the seatbelt, probably that driver cannot go back to that area because the person is saying this him and he might just end up dying. So we can't afford to set up people like that. And we'll be going to the meeting tomorrow now to try to, flesh out some of the issues, look at some of the charges that possibly should not demerit. Not you don't charge them, but the demerit points, we want to look at that. And the conversation is going well. I think that a demonstration or withdrawal service at this point in time is a bit premature based on what is happening.
That's Dion Chance saying the protests is premature, but they have valid concerns. Well, under the Road Traffic Act, motorists can accumulate 2 demerit points and be fined $2,000 if he or she has failed to cause a passenger to wear a seatbelt. Driving backwards unnecessarily attracts a $3,000 fine and 4 demerit points. Driving or attempting to drive motor vehicle across funeral procession, $5,000 fine and 2 demerit points. Driving or operating a vehicle while using an electronic device, $10,000 or 4 demerit points. But there are other offences with significant fines where there is no demerit points applied. And this is where it gets rather fuzzy and nonsensical, frankly. Not producing transport emergency cards and manifests upon being requested to by a constable or other authorized person, a fine $175,000, but no demerit points. That makes sense. Operating motor vehicle specified in Regulation 259 in time when motor vehicle cannot be clearly discerned at a distance of 150 meters, fine $500,000, but no demerit points. Using a vehicle to damage road sign, $50,000, but no demerit points. And I think these are some of the issues that the public passenger operators have on their side. These things ought not to stand. Another news point we're watching for you this morning. The Court of Appeal has begun hearing arguments about whether Vybz Kartel and his 3 co-accused should stand trial again for the 2011 murder of Clive Lizard Williams. The trial started this morning on time in the Court of Appeal in downtown Kingston, and the arguments are being made before Justices Justices Marva MacDonald Bishop, Paulette Williams, and David Fraser, in courtroom 1. Our reporter at the courtroom says courtroom 1 is packed. Overflow court being used to accommodate crowd. Justice Marva MacDonald Bishop began by cautioning media against reporting in such a way that may inflame public passion in this matter. According to Justice MacDonald Bishop, the court will not hesitate to bring contempt proceedings against entities who may report in such a way as to prejudice the rights of the accused. Our reporter also says that the Crown is being represented and led by the acting DPP, Claudette Thompson. Yes. And according to the latest Samoa report in the courtroom, acting DPP has risen on a point of preliminary objection. She's asking the court to prevent Kartel's legal team from raising any new grounds of appeal which had not been made in the case before. She's objecting to aspects of an affidavit filed for Sean Campbell in which he alleges the negative publicity around the matters affecting his daughter. According to Acting DPP Thompson, she says that's hearsay. She's also objecting to Campbell's argument that he has been trying to find alibi witnesses. So, we are in the Court of Appeal and we're going to keep you abreast of what's happening in that cartel matter. Whether it should be retried, yes, as ordered by the Privy Council in London in March this year. You will recall the law lords found that significant jury issues in a trial meant the convictions of Kartel and his co-accused were unsafe and could not stand. And they instructed Jamaica's Court of Appeal to determine whether a retrial should be held. Yes? So, Kartel and Andre St. John are being represented by Isaac Buchanan. Bert Samuels is appearing on behalf of Sean Campbell, and attorney John Clark will represent Kahira Jones in the matter. All right? So, we're watching that. The other thing this morning, mark British dual citizenship not going away. Not going away. Yesterday we learned in the Sunday Observer, confirmed later by us this morning, that Blue Dot did a poll on this controversial issue. And what did they find? 61% of Jamaicans, yes, 61%, 6 of every 10 Jamaican said, listen, the PNP president and opposition leader should renounce his British citizenship. That is sobering. And there are other sobering results from the Blue Dot poll this morning for Mr. Golding and his People's National Party. Yes? And the Blue Dot poll is the first measurement, scientific measurement of public sentiments on this issue since it erupted, yeah, at the behest of Mr. Golding. He was the one who made this erupt in the public square by his position, yeah, his personal position, not the People's National Party's position on dual citizenship, yeah. Mahira Stewart has more on that Blue Dot poll finding.
This was the PNP president's response recently as he reflected on whether he would be prepared to renounce his British citizenship.
I'm not moving on any bummy basis. I'm meditating on this thing, saying my prayers on this thing, and I'm listening to what is happening. I want a proper dialogue and conversation in Jamaica about dual citizenship, about who we are, about the millions of Jamaicans who live outside of Jamaica, many of whom are dual citizens, and how we plan to engage with them and deal with them and treat them. And when we get through that debate, if the preponderance of opinion is that I should, as leader of the PNP, as leader of the opposition, as Prime Minister in waiting, shouldn't have a dual citizenship, then I will give it up, because I intend to serve Jamaica to the best of my capacity, and I'll give it up.
Mr. Golding now has a definitive answer from Jamaicans. They want him to give up the British trappings and privileges. When the Blue Dot pollsters asked 1,020 Jamaicans if Mark Golding should renounce his British citizenship if he plans to be Prime Minister, 61% of respondents said yes. Only 29% of respondents were prepared to countenance Mr. Golding's bid for Jamaica House while he maintains citizenship of a country that was once a colonial power. But it's not just a legal question that's facing the opposition leader. The dual citizenship saga has also complicated his political prospects. The Blue Dot pollsters found that 53% of respondents are now less likely to view the opposition leader as a potential Prime Minister of Jamaica owing to his divided loyalties. That's against the 31% of respondents who said the revelation of Golding's dual citizenship has made no impact on their perception of him as a future Prime Minister. Only 7% indicated that they were more likely to see him as a potential Prime Minister. There are also signs that the duality of Mr. Golding's citizenship is having some negative effect on how voters perceive the People's National Party. When asked whether all they have seen and heard recently changed their perception of the PNP, 31% said it had no change. The trouble for Mr. Golding is that 10% said it had somewhat negatively affected their perception of the PNP, and nearly 18% said it had very negatively affected their perception of the PNP. That combined negative perception stands at 28%. 14% had a combined positive perception of the PNP following the citizenship row. Now that Mr. Golding has an answer from the Jamaican people, the question on renunciation this week is sure to be, will he or won't he? The Blue Dot poll was conducted between May 22 and June 5. It has a margin of error of plus or minus 3.5%. Mahiri Stewart for Nationwide News.
Thank you, Mahiri. And the poll was conducted after this issue erupted on the doing of Mr. Golding. This is an own goal scored by Golding against Golding. Yes, own goal. The poll was done between May 22 and June 5. And there are several takeaways from it. You can choose. For me, the most significant takeaway is the response to the question. Considering the recent discussion about Mark Golding being a British citizen, does this make you more likely or less likely to see him as a potential Prime Minister of Jamaica? More than 53% said less likely. Less likely to see him as a potential Prime Minister. 31%, yes, 31% said no change. It would not impact their view of him as a potential Prime Minister. Now, to me, that is the biggest takeaway. Because Mark Golding was already having difficulty being accepted as a potential Prime Minister and alternative to Andrew Holness since he became PNP President, 3-4 years ago? Yes, he was having that problem. Now, this own goal is going to affect him badly. Just at the moment when he was beginning to close that gap between himself and Holness. He was closing that gap between Holness and himself in terms of acceptability, favorability. And he continues, after how many weeks now, to meditate, to listen. What is there to meditate and to listen about? If you want to be Prime Minister of Jamaica, you must have one allegiance to Jamaica. There's nothing to meditate about. There's absolutely nothing. Your meditation would seem to me, Mr. Golding, to be telling me that you really don't want to get up. For whatever reason, we don't know. Whatever reason we don't know, you don't want to give it up. So this poll, frankly, is not surprising. And the fact that PJ Patterson made his comments public last week in which he said, listen, there are certain sensitive posts in government where if you want to accede to one of them, then there should be no doubt about your loyalty and your allegiance. It can't be split loyalties or dual citizenship. Patterson made that clear. And I think Patterson is in sync with the popular view, as the poll is now clearly suggesting. What are you meditating about? What is it? Save and accept that your DNA is British. Your DNA is British. And it's fair to say that's what you don't want to walk away from. Well, if you don't want to walk away from that, then you shouldn't be Prime Minister of Jamaica. So you have a decision, and I think the time is passing, where you either renounce or resign. Don't hold the People's National Party hostage because of your own personal dilemma. You either renounce or you resign. But right now you're holding your party hostage. That's what he's doing to the PNP. Holding them hostage.